We are ready to proceed. Oh, Mayor Latchford, we cannot hear you. We are experiencing some technical difficulties.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I was in the wrong plug, I guess. Okay, sorry about that, folks. So I called the meeting to order at 12:35. And the first thing I'm going to do is the territorial land acknowledgement. Before our meeting gets underway, I'd like to formally recognize the traditional keepers of this land, and specifically our neighbors of the Alderville First Nation, with a formal territorial acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that the Township of Alnwick-Haldeman is located on the Mississauga-Anishinaabeg territory and is in the traditional territory of the Mississauga-Anishinaabeg. The Township of Alnwick-Haldeman respectfully acknowledges that the Mississauga Nation are the collective stewards and caretakers of these lands and waters in perpetuity, and that they continue to maintain this responsibility to ensure their health and integrity for generations to come. Item 3 is a moment of silence for fallen soldiers and citizens, and please keep in mind those struggling at this time in the world with COVID.
It appears our mayor has lost connection. She will be up shortly, I'm assuming.
Just so you know, Yolanda, it's saying on mine the internet is unstable. She's trying to log out and back in again.
Okay, thank you.
Deputy Mayor, do you want to carry on and we can get to the presentation and give the mayor some time?
Great. Yep, will do. Thank you.
Thanks.
So I'll just step in while Mayor Latchford is reconnecting, and I'll ask for disclosures of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. Any declarations? Seeing none, we'll move on to approval of the agenda as circulated. If somebody wants to motion that.
I'll move it or second it. Mike
Okay.
Phillip.
Moved by Greg and seconded
Yeah.
by Mike. And Gail, I'll just finish off this
Can you hear
motion
me
and
now?
then pass it over to you.
Okay.
Okay. So
Okay, item 4, are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof? Seeing none. I need approval of the agenda as circulated. Be it resolved that the agenda for the regular council session of Thursday, May 6, 2021 be approved as circulated. Could I have a mover, please?
I'll make that motion, Councillor Booth.
Second? Okay, I'll call for the vote. I guess I don't have to call for the vote this time. Everybody can see us, Yolanda? I can't hear her.
No, Mayor Latchford, please call for the vote.
Can we just vote by hand?
No.
Nope, Alex is saying, okay. Deputy Mayor Gibson,
yay.
Councillor Phillip.
She
Yay.
said-
She said yay.
Okay, I didn't get her. Councillor Phelps,
Yay.
I'm not hearing anything. Councillor Booth,
Yay.
Councillor Hogg,
Yay.
and myself, it's carried. I can't hear. So now what's wrong?
Gail, are you only having trouble hearing Councillor Phillip? Well, I don't think she can hear me.
I can hear you right now. You opened your speaker, but I couldn't hear you before. So hopefully this is all right now.
Mayor Latchford, if your technical difficulties continue, I'm happy to take over chairing the meeting while you get that sorted.
Okay, we'll see how we go here. I won't breathe. We have a delegation today. Presentation by Sarah Tanner, Community Service Manager, Northumberland County. Northumberland County Safety and Wellbeing. So I'll let Sarah take the floor right now. How are you, Sarah?
I'm well, thank you very much, Mayor. And
Good.
good afternoon, Council. I really appreciate you making time on your agenda for me to speak with you today. Can I just check, should I share my screen or do you have the presentation that you wish to share? Which is easiest?
We have the presentation, but maybe some of the people watching don't have it. Sarah?
Okay, are you happy for me to share my screen?
Sure.
Okay, you just have to tell me when you can actually say it. It says that screen sharing is disabled. It says the host is disabled, screen sharing.
I do have the screen sharing on.
Okay, let me try again. Okay, let's see. I'm hopeful that you will be able to see that. Can somebody confirm whether my screen is now shared, please?
Yes, it is.
Thank you very much. Okay. My internet is stable, so hopefully we'll be able to get through this as I have a few slides. So again, thank you so much for your time. And I am actually very excited to be here to give you an update on our community safety and wellbeing plan for Northumberland. I would be happy to take any questions at the end, or if you want to stop me as we go through, whichever works for you. So just as a little bit of a reminder, the province set out the requirement for us to have a community safety and wellbeing plan And the province were very clear that we had to work with a range of sectors. It had to be multi-sectorial in terms of its planning and development. And I'm really pleased that in Northumberland, we have so many engaged people at a senior level to help this come to fruition. So we've worked with police, we've worked with fire services, we've worked with our paramedics, we've worked with the community sector, we've worked with health, including the Ontario Health Team, mental health, primary health. We've even worked with public health. We have community and social services in terms of, we have the county representative, we have childcare services and youth services. So for Northumberland, we're very well represented. And again, as a reminder, this is a requirement under the Safer Ontario's Act, more specifically, the Police Services Act. It's an amendment there, that every municipality is required by law now to have a community safety and wellbeing plan. And in Northumberland, the municipalities spoke with the council and with the county, and we worked together and determined that the county would coordinate this on behalf of Northumberland to ensure that we didn't have 7 different plans looking at different priorities and different resources. So it's one plan for Northumberland which meets each municipality's requirement to have a plan. And I'm very fortunate, as I'm the person that's been doing a lot of this coordination, and it certainly has been a very exciting ride so far. Again, a bit of a reminder here that sort of bullseye picture there on the left of your screen, the province are very clear that our current priorities are to reduce the incident response. That's both critical and non-critical incident response. We have to find ways to reduce the amount of calls that we have to 911. We have to find ways to invest in other services that prevent those calls. So what the province are asking us to do is look at that yellow circle there, that's risk intervention. And I've just put an example there. For Northumberland, we already have a very active situation table. That's where every week we have crisis workers come together and discuss if there's any really urgent situations, families with in risk, individuals experiencing real risk either to themselves or others, and they put together a plan which is actionable at that moment. They literally leave the table and go and deal with the family and offer them the support and they help to avoid critical incidents or non-critical incidents. We have other examples, our H-Court table, that's our Homelessness Coordinated Response Table. We meet every 2 weeks. We talk about families and individuals experiencing homelessness, of course with their consent, and we put plans together to enable them to remain safe, to remain healthy, and help them find long-term housing. So we're already doing that, intervening when there's a risk that we've identified. The blue circle, that's about prevention. What is it we're doing? We have to demonstrate to the province what we're doing to prevent the risks even happening. And I put a couple of examples here. We have a new program in Port Hope, which we've called Next Step. It's just a trial, it's a small unit where we're working with people who are working on improving their confidence and their skills to be able to live independently. So this could be health issues, this could be food security, this could be income, it could be social skills, how to be a good tenant, what is it that I need to do, how can I find a house. So very intensive help for each of the individuals in that to move them on to housing. I like to use the term we're interrupting their homelessness. We're saying, okay, we're going to stop here. We're going to give you some really, really specific help for your specific needs and help you move on to independence. Another example there around prevention is diversion. So we're putting in now that across our homelessness system, as an example, we are doing diversion with people. We're doing the, well, where were you last night? What is stopping you going back there? Who else have you got in your family, in your circle that can help you? What is it we can do to help you with that? I can give you a great example. Young man, very young. He'd been staying on his mother's couch, and she had thrown him out because she didn't like the mess on her couch. The couch was never used. He was always in the living room, and it was too much for her. So we were able to buy a bed that they could put in a small place in the basement, buy him some bedding, and the mum was more prepared to have him back there. He was no longer homeless, and we could put in that support to move him on to his own independent living, you know, helping with house search, helping him apply for any subsidies that he would be eligible for, and just helping with his confidence to look at moving on. Mum was happy because she had her living room back. So that's called diversion, where we just look at, okay, where were you yesterday? Where were you last weekend? Who is there that can help you? You know, and just small amounts of financial resource can actually make a big difference to people to avoid them going into the system. And then the last circle there, the green circle, this is where the province wants us to be able to invest, is all about social development. And we're really good at that in Northumberland. We have a variety of services where we look at developing services in our community. I've just put a couple of examples there. Our early on child and family centres, great example. Northumberland Eats, great example, where we look at food security and we start to give people choices. We start to encourage healthy options, but we're also investing in businesses across the community. So that again is just a bit of a reminder, so that these are the requirements we have from the province to move our resources and our investments out of that middle part of the circle. What is it we can do to intervene when there's risk, prevent situations happening, and look at social development? Where are we up to right now? Well, in our community safety and wellbeing plan for Northumberland, we are so fortunate. We have a really vibrant community. We have so many things already going on. So we just went out and asked. So we asked all our service providers, all those human service organisations across the county, what's important, what's working really well, what is there that we need to shore up a bit, what are the priorities you're seeing? We looked at local, regional and national data. So we looked up at Stats Canada for employment stats and income stats. We looked at regional data, sort of health, you know, what are the biggest health burdens that we have? And we looked at local data. Who are you seeing? How many times are you seeing them? Do we have repeat customers? What is it that we're not doing well? We did a community survey where we went out and just a community survey, asked people, what are the things that help you feel safe? What are the things that affect your well-being? We had responses all the way from clean beaches, access to libraries, cycle paths, right the way through to those things that are about personal safety. The other thing we did was we did a strategic planning inventory. So we looked at yours, we looked at everybody's strategic plan. What are the priorities that you are saying are important in your community? We looked at the police strategic plans. We looked at education and school strategic plans. We looked at large not-for-profit and community organisations. What is it that you're saying is a priority in your community? We took all of that information to determine the priorities in Northumberland. We looked at our networks. Who have we already got doing this work? What is the work that they're doing? So whether it's a coalition like the Thrive Coalition, whether it's an organisation like the Ontario Health Team, that sort of network. Okay, so what are your priorities and what evidence have you used? We laid all of that information together. We worked with a data analysis specialist to actually identify our priorities. And I'm sure none of you will be surprised that these were our priorities, as they are in many communities. So across Northumberland, mental health, substance use and addiction, poverty, income and employment, and homelessness and affordable housing were the 4 top priorities that came out through our community survey, through our agency survey, and looking at the evidence-based data of services that are provided. These are not in any particular order, by the way. These are our 4 priorities. Of course, there were other priorities. I've already mentioned cycle paths and park access, but we just can't do them all. So we're starting with those top 4 that really affect how people are feeling in the community. These are what we're working in Northumberland now. This is a bit of a busy slide. I realise that as I look at it. So I'm just going to talk about it really quickly. So, okay, what are we going to do in Northumberland? So if we look at the left-hand side there, the blue column, why are we doing it? Well, because we're told we have to do it. It's a provincial directive. I also think it's a great idea, but it is a provincial directive. How are we going to do all the coordinating and reporting that's required? Well, Northumberland County will coordinate that with partnerships with our member municipalities and our police services, as the Act requires, but that's how we're going to do the coordination and reporting required. So who's going to be creating this plan? Well, we have the advisory committee. I've already told you about those. It's a multi-sectorial approach, and we're the ones that are getting the plan together to be submitted to the province. It's all senior level people from those sectors, people who can make decisions about investment, strategic directions. They're all EDs and senior directors. So what are the supporting actions that we're required? Well, First of all, once the plan is submitted, we'll need to move into being a collaborative so that we can work on implementation. And on top of the community priorities that I've always mentioned to you, it was very clear through the evidence that were 3 main values that people were referring to. So when they talked about housing or mental health or substances, there were 3 main values, and that's why it was, why aren't services collaborating more? What are the opportunities for people to do things together? How can resources be shared? Why aren't you collaborating? The next one was knowledge sharing. How can we be better at case conferencing? How can we be better at sharing the data so we know what's happening and we can plan and start to align our plans? And then lastly, there was a real need to improve access to services. So access to services is not only about the times they're open, although that's really important. You know, there was a lot of feedback about everything shuts at 4:30 and nothing's open at the weekend, so the services. So there's access, but access is always also about what are the services there? Where do I have to go? Am I eligible? All of those sort of access questions. So which, I've already told you what the priorities are, and then who with. And this is the bit that makes Northumberland just that little bit special, just that little bit different. We don't need to reinvest in new committees to do this work. We don't need to find people to actually take on the work plan, because we have this wonderful group across the county who are already doing this work. This is just some examples. I know there's more, but we already have a Safe Communities group who are working on plans to ensure that children use bike helmets, that they know how to swim, that road safety is important. We already have Thrive that's looking at issues of like the period promise or violence against women. We already have MHAR who are going out with the police looking at mental health issues to avoid people from getting into the justice system. We already have the Homelessness Leadership Table who are looking at those wider issues about how we can start to align and share our data. We already have the Ontario Health Team, who are bringing together all the healthcare providers to start to share some of this alignment. So we don't need a big investment in this. We have the people already doing it. What we need to improve on is those supporting actions. We need to improve how we collaborate, improve how we share our knowledge, and improve the access to service. I'm just going to go through these slides really quickly because I recognize I've been talking for quite a while and I don't want to bore people, but I do want you to understand that we've been through each of these priorities, the 4 priorities, and we've set goals. So those goals are those high-level, ambitious statements. These are the things that we'd really like to see happen. This is going to start to drive our work. And we then break those goals, this is just an example, down into objectives. So, okay, what is it we can achieve under that goal? Once we've seen that objective, we look at, okay, so what steps do we need to take then? It's all very well having these high, lofty ambitions, but what are the actual steps we're going to do to make a difference? And when are we going to do it? And then most importantly, and this is what the province are particularly asking us to do, is how do you know when you've been successful? What is it you're actually going to measure? How do you know when something has made a difference for the residents across Northumberland? What is it you're going to do to prove that? So we've already, as you can see here, broken down that to actual steps and what it is we can do to prove that we've done it. And we've done this across all of those 4 priorities, the high-level goals, breaking it down into steps that people can look at, whether it is the expansion of a service, whether it's about expanding how we have court workers for people with mental health, whether we want to try something new. We've done it across poverty, income and employment. And this one's really interesting because we're identifying that education happens at a lot of different levels. And we need to build some new partnerships here, perhaps with some of our downtown business associations, our chambers of commerce, and start to work with those in some of the social development areas. And then in our substance use and addiction, you'll see the last goal there is about looking at alternative resolutions or responses. What is it we can do that's really innovative? So you can see number 3 here in the steps that we want to take. Our rapid access addiction medicine clinic is going so well. It's only open 2 days a week for a couple of hours. So let's look and see whether we can get some resources together to expand that. But then number 4, something completely new that we haven't yet done in Northumberland. Which of those networks would be able to take on something around social prescribing? We know how successful that's been in other communities. Maybe that's something we could do here. So our plan is looking at what we're already doing and just pushing a little bit for some new innovation. I'm near the end, I promise. So currently we're at that little yellow arrow there. We're just going to get our plan together to submit to the province. So it will go to the county in June, for county approval to be submitted to the province by the 1st of July. That is the last date the Attorney General will accept any of our plans. So we will have it to him by then. And then July onwards, well, we've got to start actually planning what we're going to do and how we're going to implement it. We need to ensure that we've got that model for accountability really well embedded. We need to make sure that we're inclusionary, you know, that we're talking to people with lived and living experiences, we're talking to community organisations, we're talking to schools, and just starting to collect that information. And we need to ensure that accessibility is really important across all of our services. Let's not just say it, let's prove it. And then this is my final slide. We will be responsible for how to document and evaluate, another really important piece of the pie. And so we've already developed the tools. So, you know, this is how we can collect the data. This is how groups and agencies can collect the data so that we can see and demonstrate that what we've done has made a difference. Just going to give you a really quick example here. I've had some feedback that people feel this is already happening. And yes, absolutely, there are ways that information is being collected and documented. But education collects education, health collect health, police collect police. We don't have a forum in Northumberland to be able to share that so that we can start to see the situation table, for example, shows us very clearly that men aged between, I think it's 34 and 44, have the highest alcohol dependency that leads to a crisis. So once we know that information, we can start to look at, okay, what do we do in response to that? It's okay knowing it, but what are we going to do about it? And then there's the areas that we need to improve. So another example I can give you is youth. Some areas say youth is 18 and under, some say it's 21 and under, and some say it's 24 and under. So when we're talking about youth, we're not even talking about the same people or the same age group. So we need some consistency in how that we're collecting the data and the metrics for Northumberland. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thanks, Sarah. That was very informative and well done. You presented it very well. Are there any questions for Sarah from council? Deputy Mayor Gibson?
Yeah, thank you. And Sarah, I appreciate that, that presentation. I know the county's always been provided good leadership and support to organizations, whether it be health or social service or justice. Will you be expanding the membership in the committee, or how is the communication going to roll out to other agencies to be involved, or the general public in, you know, how to access some of these supports you're putting in place?
Thank you. That's a great question. So there's a few answers to that. So we've started through the county that now our advisory board actually answers to the Social Services Committee. So we actually have direct reporting there. So that gives us a little bit of that accountability and ensures that we stay aligned with those bigger priorities. Number 2, we have our website set up with some general information for people. We'll keep that up to date with minutes and things. And number 3, one of the first actions after our plan has been approved by the province is to start the implementation, is to change from an advisory group to a collaborative. And that is clearly identified in the plan. And in that change, we will change our governance structure to ensure that our governance is all around that implementation, how we implement it. I've already spoken to some of the groups that I showed you under that network part of the program model, and explained that some of this will be a bit like, you know, I hope this doesn't sound too frivolous, but a bit like a menu. So you want to do these things, here are some steps, here is how you can measure it, here's a good timeline, and we'll collect the data. Our role is in that coordination. So I hope you can see that it's just a little bit of a process that we need to go through after we've been, after the plan has been submitted and approved. And then we, as I say, we have it written in the plan that we'll move to a collaborative model with new governance, and then we'll have this suite of different actions that we can help coordinate through the bodies that are already there. And that's what's most exciting, Councillor, that we don't have to reinvent something in Northumberland. We've got people there. We've got agencies and networks that are doing phenomenally good work. And I'm not sure that every county can say that, but I've been doing this work for a couple of years now, and I can say that. I feel very comfortable saying that.
Thank you. We'll look forward to an update next year.
Great.
Any further questions? Seeing none, I'll read the motion. Be it resolved that the presentation by Sarah Tanner, Community Service Manager, Northumberland County, Northumberland Community Safety and Wellbeing, be received and filed. Can I have a mover, please?
Councillor Phillip will move that.
And I see Deputy Mayor
A
Gibson.
second. Thank you.
Okay, I'll call for the vote. Deputy Mayor Gibson,
Yay.
Councillor Phillip,
Yay.
Councillor Booth,
Yay.
Councillor Hogg,
Yay.
and in favor myself, that's carried. So thank you very much, Sarah. We look
Thank
forward
you.
to seeing you again.
Oh, you will.
I know we will.
Thank you very much. Thank you again for your time.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Item 7, am I echoing again? Bad? No? Okay.
A little bit.
Item 7, approval of the minutes. Be it resolved that the regular council session minutes of April 15th, 2021 be approved. Can I have a mover, please?
I'll move that, Councillor Phillip.
Second?
I'll second that, Councillor Hogg.
Okay, calling for the vote. Deputy Mayor Gibson,
Yay.
Councillor Phillip,
Yay.
Councillor Hogg,
Yay.
Councillor Booth,
Yay.
and myself, that's carried. Item 8, is there any business arising from those April minutes? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll move on to department reports. Item 9.1, this report is the fire department's. Are you going to address Troy if we need?
Yes, yes, I will.
Okay. Be it resolved that report number FD 2021-3 from Rob Gord, Acting Fire Chief, dated May 6, 2021, re-AH Fire Department update, be received and filed. Could I have a mover, please?
I'll make that motion, Councillor Booth.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second that. Deputy Mayor
Oops.
Gibson.
Sherry beat you. Okay. Okay. Any comments or questions from council on this report?
No.
I'll provide a quick update, though.
Okay.
Just on the report, it talks about the delivery time of being in July. That is because the truck is not done being made yet. I spoke with the manufacturer this morning, and due to COVID, they had some parts of the factory that were shut down. So that is why the delay. So the manufacturer this morning said that July it should be delivered. So it's not like it's just sitting there not being delivered. It's because it's not made. So
Okay.
so that's my update on that one.
Okay, thank you. I'll call for the vote on that report. Deputy Mayor Gibson,
Yay.
Councillor Phillip,
Yay.
Councillor Booth,
Yay.
Councillor Hogg,
Yay.
and myself, that's carried. Item 10, 10.1, report Number 1 from Daryl Hall. Be it resolved that the report from Daryl Hall, CBO, MBEO, Planning Assistant, dated May 6, 2021, rebuilding permit summary for April 2021, be received and filed. Have a mover, please.
Counselor Phillip will move that.
Second,
I'll second that, Councillor Booth.
Councillor Booth. Okay. Daryl, you want to, anything you wish to?
No, just, I'm sure everybody has a copy of it, in front of them. Good afternoon, everyone. Hope everybody's, well in these times. As you can see, building department, permits have been going really well. We've got, more than 52 since the report's done issued. And then it's just, you know, the whole, breakdown on the back page, that you can see that, last year at this time, the end of April, we had 28 issued. Now we have 52 total at the end of April. And just the difference in the cost value, I did a little breakdown for you. So yeah, carrying on with permits as we go here, so I can answer any questions that anybody has with the permit summary.
Any questions from council? Nope, seeing none. I'll call for the vote. Deputy Mayor Gibson,
Yay.
Councillor Phillip,
Yay.
Councillor Booth,
Yay.
Councillor Hogg, and myself, that one's carried. And his next report, report number 2, is the report on a refreshment vehicle application. Be it resolved that the report from Daryl Hall, CBO, MBEO, Planning Assistant, dated May 6, 2021, refreshment vehicle applications be received and filed, and further that council direction is required. So could I have a mover for that, and we can hear Daryl? And
Counselor Phillip will put that on the table.
second? Thank you. Okay, do you want to explain this first, Daryl?
Sure. So yeah, like it's stated there, I received 3 applications, 2 for renewal, 2 for licenses that were issued last year, 1 for a new license. The one spot at located Academy Hill Road, the owner already has 1 refreshment vehicle there that was licensed last year. He applied for renewal for that one and to add a second one at the same location. So that's the one we're looking for approvals on for it. And again, everything's in place for that from him as far as all approvals. And the third application, or the second on my, it says location 2 is for a refreshment vehicle that was again licensed last year and permitted at the location on County Road 45, and they're moving locations down to their own property. I believe they went through planning approval for that a little while ago to allow that. So they've just gone through the process now through the refreshment vehicle bylaw to renew their license for that location. And again, all approvals have been met as far as what they need for that.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from council? Seeing none. So then the motion will be to approve this report of Daryl's and the applications.
Thank you.
Okay, I got a call for the vote. Oh, Mike, you got a question?
No, I'm sorry. I'm
Right,
just,
ready to vote.
yeah.
Deputy Mayor Gibson,
Yay.
Councillor Phillip,
Yay.
Councillor Booth,
Yay.
Councillor Hogg, myself, that one's carried. Daryl's third report, bylaw complaint. Be it resolved that the report from Daryl Hall, CBO, MBEO, Planning Assistant, dated May 6, 2021, bylaw complaint be received and filed, and it needs further direction from council. So there you go, Daryl.
Yeah, so thank you. This one's a bylaw issue that actually has been been going for a few years. Not under, I guess it's not under order. It's been going for a few years, but it has been there for a few years. We just received written formal complaint letters about this property this year. So as I stated, I did do an investigation on the property. It is in contravene of our property standards bylaw, section 3 of the maintenance of yard and buildings. So after the investigation, I did an order on the property on I believe I got the date here. I did an order April 7th on the property and posted it on site. The order was for 1 month for them to start. So tomorrow will be May 7th. So it'll be another investigation tomorrow. It appears that I was there today. They haven't started anything. So we are going to have to take, it did state in the order that we would be taking action on the property. And I have already got that lined up to, if they don't do anything by tomorrow, which I don't think they're gonna, I do have that lined up to start next week with a contractor. So that's the direction that I've taken. And hopefully we don't have to go the legal route, and we can just get this part cleaned up. We will get billed for this, but it will go on their taxes as it states that we can do through the municipal act. So
Okay. Have you had actual conversations with these owners?
no, I had a conversation with one of the residents that resides there. He said he was their son. He is an adult. I had a conversation with him and told him why I was there for the investigation. The day I was there for the investigation, when I went back to put the order on the place, there was no answer at the door. I did knock on the door. There was no answer there. I posted the order, took a picture of it so they knew it was there. I did go back as a courtesy call today to state again that tomorrow is their due date for this. Again, no answer at the door today, but nothing has been done yet. So
Okay, thanks. So council, the decision then of council would, I'm sure, will be bring this issue into compliance. So I'll need a mover. Be it resolved that the report from Daryl Hall, CBO, MBEO, Planning Assistant, dated May 6, 2021, re-bylaw complaint be received and filed, and further that council direct staff to bring this into conformity or compliance. What word do you want, Daryl?
compliance is fine. That's
Okay,
I believe that's what it says in the bylaw.
yeah,
Property into compliance. So
okay. Can I have a mover, please?
I'll make that motion, Councillor Booth.
Thank you. Second?
Oh, Deputy Mayor Gibson.
Okay, thank you.
Could I just ask a question?
Yep, I was just going to ask if anybody wanted to.
Through you, your worship, to Daryl. Daryl's, when they talk about a contractor going in there and cleaning up, do we know what that approximately costs? Do they give you an idea, the contractor, and advice or in advance, or is it just sort of depending on what they're taking?
He will. He was actually, I just talking to the contractor this morning to try and set this up. He was going to do a site drive-by visit today to see what they would need for bins and equipment if needed or if not needed. So he will give us approximate quote prior to commencing any work, if we give them the go ahead to commence the work.
So in the past, then, have we ever done this before? Where do you know what the approximate cost is? Like, I have no idea. Is it a couple of $1,000s? Or are we talking?
I've never done this in my time.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll all find out then when the guy gives us the bill. Yeah. Okay.
Treading new waters.
Thank you.
Any further questions or comments from council? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Deputy Mayor Gibson?
Yay.
Councillor Phillip?
Yay.
Councillor Booth?
Yay.
Councillor Hogg?
Yay.
Myself in favor. That's carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next report is from, get my papers organized here. Public Works, Public Works Manager Brian McMillan. And I'll ask for the motion first. Be it resolved that the report from Brian McMillan, Public Works Manager, dated May 6, 2021, read Public Works Department update, be received and filed. Have a mover, please.
So moved.
Okay, and I saw Deputy Mayor Gibson. Okay. Anything you wish to add to your report, Brian, or explain?
Yes, good afternoon, Mayor Latchford and members of council. Before you have the Public Works Department update, I know you've had time to read this through. I may just highlight a couple things in this report. The brushing with township equipment, I mentioned in there that I'll be doing a notice up to hand deliver to residents in the future, letting them know the type of work the brushing machine will be doing. That hasn't been done yet, but by early next week, any roads that we're going to be on a few days in advance, residents will have a notice from me describing the type of work and how they can contact me if they got any questions or concerns about the proposed work. I've used this in the past. I believe it's worked well. Once I do have the notice, I will forward it to all of council so you guys can see it, just in case you do get calls. Hopefully you don't. I'll try to keep the calls away from you if possible. The next thing is just our 2021 Public Works Capital projects. I mentioned about them beginning in May. The next council meeting, I'll bring more of an update on the roads and schedule, and as well, some of those roads, the residents will get a notice in advance of the construction explaining the details of the construction and time frame, just to give them a heads up. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Any questions, council, for Brian? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Deputy Mayor Gibson?
Yay.
Councillor Phillip?
Yay.
Councillor Booth?
Yay.
Councillor Hogg?
Yay.
And myself, that's carried. And one more report from Brian. Be it resolved that the report from Brian McMillan, Public Works Manager, dated May 6, 2021, request for closure and purchase of the road allowance south of Mercer Lane between lots 4 and 5, concession 2, be received and filed, and further that council direction is required. So we'll walk through this one as well. Could I have a mover, please?
Councillor Phillip will put it on the table.
Second?
Councillor Booth will second that.
Okay. Okay, Brian, we'll let you explain.
Oh, yes, Mayor Latchford and members of council, before you is that request for the purchase and closure of that road allowance. My recommendation is that this wouldn't be allowed. Again, this particular road allowance runs north and south of Mercer Lane to Telephone Road and is approximately 2 kilometers in length. However, the email request indicates they're interested only in the 123 meter portion on the property. The conclusion is recommended the sale of this particular unopened township road allowance not be granted, as again, we don't know what the future holds for any potential projects or uses in the township in the years to come. We limit or cut off possibilities that would require these road allowance for access if we enable this transaction to take place. Any questions?
Any questions from council? Councillor Booth?
I know this probably would have been better bringing it up at a planning meeting, because it would allow the applicant to speak. And I think I see, if I'm correct, Mr. and Mrs. Robinson here. Would it be possible, if I made a motion that would allow them to speak to explain why, or would it be better to defer this to maybe the planning committee where they can actually talk about the request, or what's the best way, Your Worship?
Well, I think in answer to your question, Councillor Booth, when you look at these severances, it's very common when the severances are being passed like this is a non-open road allowance. The severance was not allowed on that portion because when you look at the rest of it, there's quite a bit of property there. So maybe at some time in the future, that road is going to be required for further development or access for agricultural purposes or whatever. So, and the other thing is we don't like to close road allowances that in the future will be needed, because how would we get around? Like that portion of the road is going up between two severed lots. So, you know, if the southern part of it was to be opened, then we'd have to go around houses.
And I totally agree with what you're saying, the comments you're saying, and I know in the past we've not allowed it. I'm just wondering, since the applicant is here, if they wanted to talk about their request or something, or we could put it to the planning meeting and they make a comment, or maybe they don't want to make a comment. I'm not sure.
No, it would come to this meeting. I don't believe it would necessitate going to the planning meeting. If you wish for the applicant to speak, then you'll need to make a motion and see if you can get a seconder to.
And I'm not even sure if John Robinson, if that is the person there. So, well, I'll make it easy then. I'd like to make a motion that John Robinson, if he's the one that put in the request for consideration, that he be allowed to speak now to say what his request is about before we make a decision.
Is there a seconder for Councillor Booth's motion?
I'll second that, Councillor Phillip.
Okay. I'll call for the vote on that. Deputy Mayor Gibson?
Nay.
Councillor Phillip?
Yay.
Councillor Booth?
Yay.
Councillor Hogg?
Nay.
And myself, I would vote against that with the way the policies are. So now we need to go back to the original motion. So council's direction, I think, is Mike made the motion, Greg seconded it. So what's your final motion then, Mike?
It stays the same.
To
to-
follow the recommendation of
Yeah.
the,
But absolutely, yeah.
okay. So this road, the request for the road to be closed will be denied. I'll call for that vote.
Mayor Latchford?
Yes, go ahead, sorry.
Just an opportunity to speak to it. And I know these are always tough things because, you know, there's those pieces of land that at the particular time are not benefiting the township and could be of benefit to the landowner. But, you know, I do agree with staff in that this blocks us from future access when it's only a small portion of that road allowance. And it's just makes sense to deny this request based on you know, the land that's been requested along the private landowner boundary.
Okay. Any further comment before we vote? Deputy Mayor Gibson?
Yay.
Councillor Phillip?
Yay.
Councillor Booth?
Yay.
Councillor Hogg?
Yay.
And myself, that's carried. Item 12, Parks and Recreation Department. Report number PR 2021-3 from Chris Kerwin. Be it resolved that the report from Chris Kerwin, Parks and Recreation Manager, dated May 6, 2021, Wicklow boat launch dredging be received and filed. And further, that this motion needs council direction after he presents. So can I have a mover to get it on the floor, please?
I'll make that motion, Councillor Booth.
Second? Councillor or Deputy Mayor Gibson? Okay. Here's Chris. Okay, Chris.
Good afternoon, everyone. So this is a report on routine dredging at Wicklow boat launch, our only boat launch on Lake Ontario. So this task is completed roughly every 5 years or as needed. Currently, the water levels are playing a big part in it right now. Lake Ontario is down. They're saying about a foot, but I've been down there. You know, I've measured the water lines and it's about 3 feet. So the water level is down a lot right now. So it makes the task seem maybe a little bigger than it actually is. They're projecting the water levels are going to come up by June, but we'll see what happens. So permits have been approved for this project by the Ministry of Natural Resources, Lower Trent Conservation Authority, and I've been dealing with Fisheries and Oceans Canada. And I have to send them a notification form once we select a contractor for this task. Yep. Some big dates here is this work has to be completed prior to May 31st. So we don't have a lot of time to get this done. The task itself will take roughly 3 days, depending, could be up to 5. So 6 different contractors across the province were contacted for quotation. 3 of them have provided written quotations, and the other 3 mentioned they were not interested in the job. So the financial side of things, we currently have $35,000 to complete this work. And the quotes received, number 1 was from Richardson Workboats for a cost of $103,600 plus taxes. Quote number 2 was from Kelly's Excavating. It was for $42,745 plus taxes. And the third one was from Redpath Crane and Dragline, and theirs was for $15,000 plus taxes. So my recommendation would be to award this task to Redpath Crane and Dragline. They actually completed this task for us last time, which was in 2014. They are well under budget and they can start on May 17th.
Okay. So any questions or comments from council? Councillor Booth?
Just through you, your worship, to Chris. Chris, 2 questions for you. Looking at the diagram you provided us, that's great. So what depth are they looking at getting to?
So we're hoping to achieve a consistent 6 to 6.5 feet. If you look at the map, I know it's hard to read and it's in meters right now, but we have roughly a foot of water at the base of the launch right now. And kind of at the halfway mark, we're 2 to 3 feet. So that's our area of focus. We want to get to about 6 feet. And then beyond that area, when the water level comes up, I don't see any issues there.
Okay, so we're looking at roughly 2 meters then, right?
Correct.
All along there. Okay, great. Thank you. That makes sense looking at the map. And another question for you, that if they start on May 17th, does that mean that the parking lot will be out of commission then? Like, does he dredge it out into a truck or something in the parking lot, or?
Yeah, we would have to definitely close the area, close the parking lot, close the park. We would provide notice to the public via our social media pages and website. The material actually has to be left on site to dry. So there would be a large mound of sediment there until it's dried, and then it's taken away.
Okay, so you answered my other question, that as long as the residents are notified of what's going on, then, okay, that's good. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Any further comments or questions?
I do have one.
Councillor Phillip?
Yes, thank you, Chris. That's a good report, and I like your thinking on all of that. My only question is just a very practical one. Once it's dredged, does that mean it can be put to use right away, or do things have to settle? Does the sediment settle before you can allow people to use the boat launch? What do you see there?
It could definitely be used right away. once all the material is removed, Mother Nature would do its thing in settling the sediment again, making it nice and clear eventually. But water levels do have to come up in order for certain boats to be launched, or certain watercrafts. But that's kind of out of our control, right? Our control would be to remove the sediment, and then Mother Nature kind of does its own thing from there.
Thank you.
Anything further? Seeing none. So the motion would then be it resolved that report from Chris Kerwin, Parks and Recreation Manager, Wicklow Boat Launch Dredging, be received and filed, and further that Red Path Crane and Dragline Lakefield, Ontario would get the contract for $15,000 plus HST. So I'll call for the vote. Deputy Mayor Gibson?
Yay.
Councillor Phillip?
Yay.
Councillor Booth?
Yay.
Councillor Hogg?
Yay.
And myself in favor. That's carried. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Our next item is 12. Number 12. Report number PC-2021-05 from Jennifer Steens, Facilities Coordinator, dated May 6th. Communications update, and this is regarding the survey she did. So I'll have a motion to get that on the floor. Be it resolved that the report from Jennifer Steen, Facilities Coordinator, dated May 6th, communications update, be received and filed. And further, if there's any council direction at the end of it.
I'll put it on the floor, Councillor Phillip.
Okay, second.
I'll second that, Councillor Hogg.
Thank you. Okay, Jennifer,
Hi, good afternoon.
good afternoon.
So this is just an update on the township's online communication. Just to go through some of the things that have been accomplished in the last year. There's been a new updated website, a new social media policy. We now have an online social media presence, and we've launched the online social engagement site, Let's Talk. So this report summarizes some of the data from the township's online presence and explores ways that we can continue to improve online communication. So you can see the data there from the website, from Facebook, and from Let's Talk, as well as there's a report on the communication survey that has been on Let's Talk since we launched in January of this year, at the end of January. So during text analysis of questions from the survey, questions 14 and 15, there's 5 themes that came from that analysis. They are transparency, council meetings, Facebook and website, public consultation, and engage residents. So there's already some current strategies being implemented that address the above themes. For instance, monthly newsletters of what's happening by department, creating a council highlight page after council meetings, increase the variety of content on social media, so make sure that each department is highlighted. Newsletters will be sent out in tax bill mail out, and live streaming council meetings and having the video available to watch afterwards via the YouTube page. So I'm recommending that we use the information that was gathered from the communication survey to form a small communications plan for the township. And the plan will highlight the above themes and list goals and steps that can be taken to improve and enhance communication. And then we can put the report of the survey findings on Let's Talk. And once the communications plan, if we decide to do that, is finished, that can go on Let's Talk as well for community feedback. And then that kind of this communication survey will have come full circle. So open to closed and a plan in place. Not sure if anybody has any questions.
Any questions from council? Council Philip?
Yes, well, Jen, thank you very much for your report. And I'm particularly pleased to see that the number of initiatives that you've taken to improve communications with the public. It's not just one or two, it's 5 or 6. And I'm very pleased with that. That being said, and to no fault of yours, but most assuredly, I am disappointed to see the very poor response to the survey. If I was in my previous role, I wouldn't be encouraged to think that I could take direction from this survey. Regardless of that, I think that all of the directions that you have taken are very proactive and do reflect the limited responses that we've received. But I think that they also show a great deal of initiative on your part. And I'm glad to see that. And anything that we can do to be more transparent, I'm in favor of. I laud the move today to be more public and have the broadcast taped and available. These are all good steps, but I'm sure as you were, I was disappointed with the number of respondents. So I'll leave my comments there. Thank you.
Any comment on that, Jennifer?
We can continue to push the survey, communication survey, if we wish. We have received, since I did this report, we received one more survey that's come in. So they, as people get to learn about the site and more projects are added and they're registering on the site, there's a chance that we could get more information. So if we decide to go the route of the communications plan, when we put that on or when we put the survey results on, that's a chance to maybe reach out to the community again and have them engage in it at that time. But it's definitely, it's not a huge response from the community. So I understand that.
Any other comments from council? Deputy Mayor Gibson?
Yeah, thank you. And through you, Mayor Latchford, I agree with Councillor Phillips' remarks. I think it makes sense, all of these, pillars that you've identified and that we move forward in that regard, but awfully disheartening with the size of the township that we've got and what we've, maybe through some fault of council, but we've, perceived that we haven't given a platform to people in the past. So maybe it's just being patient and waiting for people to get familiar with it. But, one thing I'm going to say, and maybe this is a challenge to the rest of council, is that, I think one thing that, I continue to hear from the time that I'm on council is that we continue to meet throughout the day. And I wonder if we shouldn't be speaking to having one meeting a month outside of regular work hours for residents. I think, maybe we want to wait and see how the YouTube and the streaming goes and how many people are able to participate by viewing after the fact. But it really does not allow for great participation from our residents.
Thank you. Councillor Booth?
I just wanted to mention through your worship, I totally agree with Councillor Gibson. In fact, this week I actually had a ratepayer call me and asking if there was any way that council meetings and that we could have one of them in the evening because of the way, work schedules for people and the busy life that now we're really echoing, that it's impossible for them to attend. Speaking slowly so I can get it all in. That's all. Just wanted to say that as soon as you mentioned the Sherry, the conversation that person talked to me about was exactly what you're talking about.
Yes, I've heard that comment many times as well. And the other thing we don't have is a committee of the whole. So the committee of the whole gives people the opportunity to come and speak to council on their issues. And maybe that would be a good one to start as an evening meeting. I don't know, we'll have to raise to Sherry's challenge, but that could be looked at as well. And the committee of the whole, decisions aren't made at the committee of the whole. Decisions will be made at the following meetings. So that's an idea as well. And, you know, other councils have committee of the whole. We haven't for quite some time. I agree too with everyone as far as the response. It's a little disappointing. I'm just thinking that not enough people maybe knew about it. And I'm wondering, did we post this on our signs? The communication, there is a communication survey, go on the website if you're interested or whatever, but to spark some interest. Did we do that, Jennifer?
Not specifically the communication survey, but just to, we promoted the Let's Talk website and encouraged residents to engage with us online there.
Okay, but maybe that if it's more specific, like it's a communication survey and it was posted on our signs, we could get a little bit more interest. Not saying that we would, but it's a possibility. And the, you know, I really like the positive answers that came in, and especially the ones that gave a solution and an idea as well as what to do. So surveys you can get a lot of negativity. It gives people that opportunity, but when somebody takes the time to answer in a positive way, those are the best comments. So I encourage you to keep that up. So council, part of this is to move forward. We've had the discussions, I think, but to move forward with Jennifer's recommendations on the 5 means of communicating better. And live streaming, we started today, and we know we're working on a newsletter for the tax bill. So, you know, hopefully that the more we do, the more interest people will get. All right, so then the motion would be, Mike, you made the motion. What's the rest you want there?
Sorry. Yeah, so I'll make the motion and I'll add, and Alex can help me with this, but I will add that we support Jen's 5 suggestions to improve communication. And probably a thought for another meeting. I like Sherry's idea. I don't know whether that should be where that fits, but an evening meeting would be another effort to improve communication. So whether you want to add that as number 6 on Jen's report, or we look into that in the future, go through our CAO and make sure that that's doable, et cetera, go through Alex, make sure that's doable. That might be the better approach.
That come back from staff as a report before we make a decision on the 6th one.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. You second that, Jim? You're good with that? Yeah. Okay, I'll call for the vote. Deputy Mayor Gibson?
Yay.
Councillor Phillip?
Yay.
Councillor Booth?
Yay.
Councillor Hogg?
Yay.
And myself, that's carried. Thanks, Jennifer. Report number PC 2021-06 from Jennifer Steen, Facilities Coordinator, dated May 6. Recreation and Cultural Advisory Committee applications. Be it resolved that the report from Jennifer Steen, Facilities Coordinator, dated May 6, 21, Recreation and Cultural Advisory Committee applications be received and filed. And further that, well, it will be that council will appoint this committee with the members listed. Could I have a mover, please? Deputy Mayor Gibson, second.
I'll second that, Councillor Phillip.
Okay, thank you. So the following residents will be appointed to the Recreation and Cultural Advisory Committee, listed in alphabetical order. Marg Benz, Library Board appointed member. Chris Blick, Doug Cooper, Lori Davini, Barb Harrington, Jennifer Keller Nelson, Jennifer Lansley, Colleen Mitchell, and Kirk O'Brien. Anything else you wish to say, Jennifer, before we point?
No, I'd just like to thank those who put their name forward to be on this committee, and I look forward to working with them.
Okay, thanks. And we're happy that we've got this many for this committee too, as well, to get started. Any questions or comments from council? Deputy Mayor Gibson?
Yeah, thank you. Through you, so Jennifer, what is the next step in terms of reaching back out to these people? They'll get an official letter of appointment, and then you know, a setting of the first meeting. Like, what's the process going to look like?
Yeah, so they are aware that it was going to council today, and they're expecting to hear from me after council meeting. And we will set up our first meeting of the committee. And I believe, Alex, maybe you could answer that there will be a council member appointed to the committee as well.
Yes, we'll have to appoint the council member. Usually the mayor does that, or the council discusses it. So that will have to be done. And I think that's...
Yeah, I guess sorry, Gail.
Go ahead, Sherry.
I would love to see this keep moving along, because so that we don't lose any momentum. You know, these people have, you know, put a lot of work into their applications, and I think it's a really good representation from south to north and various interests. So I just don't want it to stall at this point. If it's, you know, if it's waiting on council direction, then, you know, let's set that direction and keep going.
Okay, well, that's today. That's what we're doing. And I'll need to know who has an interest in sitting on this committee. Okay, I'll call for the vote. Deputy Mayor Gibson?
Yay.
Councillor Phillip?
Yay.
Councillor Booth?
Yay.
Councillor Hogg?
Yay.
And myself, that's carried. Thanks, Jennifer, for that. Okay, Treasury Department, item 13. And it's the first report is 2021-03 from Carol James, Deputy CAO, Manager of Finance, HR, dated May 6. Read the 2022 grant donation process. I'll read the motion. Be it resolved that the report from Carol James, Deputy CAO, Manager of Finance, HR, Manager of Finance, HR, dated May 6, 2021, re 2022 grant donation process be received and filed. And we're going to need some council direction with this after we hear from her. Can I have a mover, please, to get it to the floor? Councillor Booth? Second?
I'll second that, Councillor Hogg.
Councillor Hogg? Okay, Carol. Okay, so this is, we discussed that we put in a grant donation process for the 2022 budget. So this is the process that I've done in previous municipalities, so thought I would bring it forward and see what council thinks, if this is what they were thinking of doing or if they want changes made. Okay, thanks. Council, you've had the opportunity to read it. Is there anything you want changed or added or deleted? Deputy Mayor Gibson?
I'm satisfied with the report that Carol's brought forward. I think it's good to have it, and it's, you know, will make budget deliberations much easier and probably much, you know, certainly fair for the organizations that, you know, follow the process and make application.
Thank you. Any further comments? Councillor Booth?
I also support this. I'd like to thank, through you, your worship, to Carol. Great job, Carol. It's good that now that we have something that, you know, are the standard rules for everybody when they want to apply for a grant, and it's going to make our job much easier when it comes to budget. Thank you.
Anything further, council? Seeing none. Thank you for this report, Carol. It's really a good report, and I like the way it's laid out and how you've explained everything. And I think this is actually the first time we've had anything as direct and formal as this. It's, you know, in years past, somebody didn't apply. Sometimes they got a call, some got missed just by, you know, lack of information. So this is going to do a good job, and as the others have said, make the council budget process that much easier. So thank you for that. So council direction is to approve this process. Greg, yes, okay. I'll call for the vote. Deputy Mayor Gibson?
Yay.
Councillor Phillip?
Yay.
Councillor Booth?
Yay.
Councillor Hogg?
Yay.
And myself, that's carried. And report number F 2021-04 from Carol James, Deputy CAO, Manager of Finance, HR. And this is a report on the Grafton well water financing. Be it resolved that the report from Carol James, Deputy CAO, Manager of Finance, HR, dated May 6, 2021, re-water well financing be received and filed. And there's a further part to that, but we'll get it on the floor first, because I'm sure there'll be discussion. Councillor Phillip, making the
I'll
motion.
put it on the floor. Yep.
Second?
Councillor Booth.
Councillor Booth. Okay. Do you want to ask Carol questions first, or do you want her to, it's pretty well presented and straightforward as far as the financing end of it and the time frame. Councillor Phillip, you have a question?
I don't have a question. I just have a comment. Again, a bit of a broken record, but I just want to thank Carol for putting it together. It's straightforward. It makes sense. I like the way she's broken it down into timelines. I am personally pretty invested in this particular project. I feel it's a very, very important project and a big project for the township, an expensive project for the township, and a necessary project for the township. And I need to say that we can't do this fast enough, but Carol has laid out a timeline which is reasonable, and I'm quite confident that we can reach our goal, which is to provide good, safe drinking water for our communities at a reasonable cost. So thank you for preparing this report, Carol. I know there was a lot of detail in it, and it's not an easy matter to understand, but I think we've done a good job at presenting it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments? Council? Carol?
The only thing I did want to say that I had the timeline a lot shorter than this. However, when I spoke to one of the representatives at Lucy, he sort of veered me off into waiting until 2022 to actually do the work on it. Just for reasons that it may be a little bit cheaper to do it at the first of the year instead of now when everybody's busy. So I did stretch the timelines out a little bit further than I was originally going to. But this also gives us the opportunity to continue to watch for grants that are coming. So hopefully something comes out between now and then, because once we apply for the debenture, we're not going to get grants.
Right. So that's a good, that was a good call. And people will be happy that this is getting done, I'm sure. So thanks for that, Carol. So I'll call for the vote. Deputy Mayor Gibson?
Yay.
Councillor Phillip?
Yay.
Councillor Booth?
Yay.
Councillor Hogg?
Yay.
And myself as well, that's carried. And thanks to Councillor Phillip and Councillor Booth for the job you're doing on this committee. I think it can get pretty intense at times, to say the least.
You have to have your doctorate in hydrology.
Okay, so our next report from Carol is report number F2021-5 from Carol James, Deputy CAO Manager of Finance, HR, May 6th, Canada Summer Job Grant Application. Be it resolved that the report from Carol James, Deputy CAO Manager of Finance, HR, dated May 6, 2021, Canada Summer Job Grant Application be received and filed. Could I have a mover, please?
Councillor Phillip will move.
Okay, I got three. I had Deputy Mayor first and then Councillor Hogg. Okay. So nice to see we were a little more successful this year, Carol. Do you have any comments on that, or?
Yeah, last year we only received a grant for one student. This year we did get 4, which is nice.
Right. So we've got 2 for Public Works and 2 for Parks.
Correct.
This year.
Yeah.
This year. Okay. Any comments or anything from council? Councillor Booth?
Yeah, just a question through you, Your Worship, to Carol. Carol, it says that obviously, I'm not sure, what were the hours and the weeks that we applied for, and what did they approve us for then?
Okay, so we applied for 2 Public Works employees for 16 weeks and 40 hours a week. They approved us for 8 weeks and 35 hours a week for 2 of them. For Parks, we applied for 3 students for 40 hours a week for 16 weeks, and they approved us for 8 weeks, 35 hours a week, and 2 of them. So, but we budgeted to receive money from, on our budget, we actually had $3,900 that we budgeted for to receive from Canada Summer Grants for Parks and Recs, and we will be getting $55.87. And for Public Works, we budgeted $2,000 and we'll be getting $55.87. However, wages were all completely in the budget. We weren't expecting to be able to get these grants, it's a nice surprise to get them.
Yeah, and basically it's not going to affect the hiring of the staff. I mean, we had it in the budget, so they're going to get hired. It's just money we're going to get from the government back.
Correct. We're just going to have some money back that we were hoping to get, but we weren't sure about.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Good. We did well. Thanks, Carol. Okay, I'll call for the vote. Deputy Mayor Gibson,
Yay.
Councillor Phillip,
Yay.
Councillor Booth,
Yay.
Councillor Hogg,
Yay.
and myself, that's carried. Administration report number 2021-2 from Troy Gilmore, CAO, dated May 6th, Raymond Benz Memorial Park. Be it resolved that the report from Troy Gilmer, dated May 6, 2021, Raymond Benz Memorial Park, be received and filed. And further, we need council's direction to approve this, but if I get it on the floor, you can discuss. Councillor Booth? Okay, second?
I can do that, Councillor Phillip.
Thank you. Okay, Troy.
Hi. Well, as we discussed last council of this idea, which was a great idea, in memory of Ray Benz, I did take it to our staff meeting, and we all came up with the idea of that park right across from the Centerton Library and Community Center. We know that, well, Ray was heavily involved in many areas, but we do know that that was one of his interest in Centerton. So we just thought it would really fitting if we would name that park, whether it be Raymond Benz Memorial Park or Ray Benz Memorial Park. And with that, if all approved, I would like to maybe reach out to Mrs. Benz and let her decide if it's Raymond or Ray. So yeah, it was unanimous at our staff meeting, and if all goes well, Chris will take the lead and get the sign made. And then we will come up with a date when we can have a ceremony. So a small ceremony. It all depends on COVID regulations, obviously. So yeah, that's what we were thinking about.
It's a good plan. Ooh, any questions from council or comments? Deputy Mayor Gibson?
Yeah, through you, and thank you to staff for doing that homework on that. And I mean, I wish probably, and on behalf of everybody, that we weren't doing this, that Ray was still sitting at the table with us, because he did offer huge insights and history. But I think this is a fitting memorial to him, and he did provide mentorship to many of us. So yeah, it's nice to see it being done.
I agree. Anyone else? Comment? I have to agree with Sherry, and I worked a lot of years with Ray, and the sense of humor, and he was always there to give you a hand or advice, and we miss him. So I think this is really nice that this will be in his honor, the naming of that park. Okay, I'll call for the vote. Deputy Mayor Gibson?
Yay.
Councillor Phillip?
Yay.
Councillor Booth?
Yay.
Councillor Hogg?
Yay.
And myself, that's carried. The next item is item 15. We have a list of committee reports, and I can put those all in one motion, but I'll only read the motion part, not the whole thing, and duplicate it. Be resolved that the following correspondence be received and filed. Grafton Water Communal Water Committee meeting minutes of February 17th, 2021. Lower Trent Source Protection Authority minutes of November 12th, 2020. Lower Trent Conservation Regular Board of Directors meeting minutes of March 11th, 2021. Lower Trent Region Conservation Authority hearing board minutes of March 11th, 2021. Ganaraska Region Conservation Authority revised minutes of the Board of Directors, March 18th, 2021. Joint Animal Control Municipal Service Board special meeting minutes of April 9th, 2021. Heritage Olmec Haldeman Committee minutes of April 30th, 2021. I'll ask for the motion and then I'll ask if there's anything in any of these minutes council would like to address. So could I have a mover, please, to receive and file all these?
So moved.
Deputy Mayor Gibson, the move, second.
I can second that, Councillor Phillip.
Thank you. And is there any minutes in this group that any of you have anything to ask questions on or address? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Deputy Mayor Gibson?
Yay.
Councillor Phillip?
Yay.
Councillor Booth?
Yay.
Councillor Hogg?
Yay.
And myself, carried. So the next is communications. The first one is a letter to the Honorable Ministry Patty Haidu, House of Commons, from Fred Simpson, Clerk of the Town of Mono, April 16th. Be it resolved that the letter to the Honorable Minister Patty Haidu, House of Commons, from Fred Simpson, Clerk, Town of Mono, dated April 16th, 2021, re cannabis licensing and enforcement, be received and filed. Do I have a mover, please? Councillor Hogg. Second. Deputy Mayor Gibson. Any comments? Seeing none. I'll call for the vote. Deputy Mayor Gibson.
Yay.
Councillor Phillip.
Yay.
Councillor Booth.
Yay.
Councillor Hogg.
Yay.
And myself, that's carried. Item 16.2, correspondence from Barb Foreman, Secretary Treasurer of the Roseneath Agricultural Society, re the 2021 vinyl banner campaign renewal. Be it resolved that the correspondence from Barb Foreman, Secretary Treasurer, Roseneath Agricultural Society, dated April 20th, 2021, re 2021 vinyl banner campaign renewal, be received and filed. And further, we need some council direction on this to either approve and purchase this advertising or not. Then if we go forward with this, I'm wondering if we could have the website added to this. Are you interested in that? Having the township website added to this banner? I'm not sure if it would be added costs or whether they look after those costs. Or if they go so long before they have to be replaced, maybe it would be replacement, because I think we've had this one for at least 3 years, if not longer. So could I have a mover, council?
So
Deputy
moved.
Mayor Gibson? Thank you. So what do we want to ask if there is a cost, or would you like to have the website put on the banner? Deputy Mayor Gibson?
Yeah, so I'm under the understanding, and I'm just going from memory, that the banner is advertising for rentals at the Alnwick Civic Center. It's not in particular a full township advertisement.
No, but I remember too, and I'm going from memory, there was a discussion afterwards that we should have put the website on.
So I think it's a good thing to, support the Agricultural Society and have that banner up there. But I'm just wondering, in terms of the budget, if the cost for this, if it's to advertise for rentals at the ACC shouldn't be coming out of the budget for that community center in particular.
I can't remember what we did the last time. Plus, we have an advertising budget. We do have an advertising budget. Councillor Booth?
I could be mistaken, but these are the signs that go up along the wire fence, right?
All summer.
Yeah, I think that, didn't it just have the town logo on it? It was pretty simple. I don't think it was it? I could be wrong. Maybe it was for rentals and with phone numbers and stuff like that. I mean, basically for somebody driving by, there's no way you're going to be able to write down any of the, numbers or anything like that. It's hard enough for them to read the sign just on ACC, the LED sign. So, I mean, if you wanted that, it would be great. I would think that hopefully they would get in touch with us when the banner's lifespan is done and they tell you want to redo it, and then we can look at, adding a website or changing it or whatever.
Okay, maybe we could just add that to it this year. So we're in favor of this?
My motion would be that we purchase the advertising at $250. It's a donation. Obviously, we're going to receive a tax receipt for it, but if we can send a note along that if we have an opportunity to revise the banner either this year or in future years, that we'd like the opportunity to review.
Okay. Everyone's good with that? Do you have a question, Greg?
Yeah, just a quick question, and maybe you can answer, your worship, or Carol, maybe you can. So with the new donation policy, would we be sending the Roseneath Agricultural Committee a notice saying that in the fall they should be filling out a form for this instead of sending it to us like this?
If I may, this comes from the advertising web or advertising GL. So it's not so much a donation. They would need to fill out the donation for the donation application for the money that we give them for the fair. But it wouldn't be, I don't believe it would be for this.
No, this come out of advertising.
Yeah.
Well, I understand that. It doesn't matter what account it comes out. It doesn't necessarily make it not a donation, right? But I'm good either way. It's only $250. They ask every year for their allotment that we give them. So that one for sure would be coming out of the donation thing. I'm just wondering that if future groups, have a jamboree or something and they come to the town and ask for a donation because they're going to put a sign up for it, does that circumvent our donation policy that they can come at any time during the year? Because this is something that they know comes every year with the signs, right? So it would make sense to just put in 2 applications in the fall, one for the sign and one for their grant.
But this one's for the ACC, I think. The Agricultural Society actually does the advertising on the fence, but it's specifically for the ACC.
It apparently, like, there is a picture of the banner and it does say ACC bookings and it has the phone number on it. To me, we're purchasing advertising. Yeah. So it's not like a donation because we're actually purchasing advertising.
Okay, then I guess my next question then would be, like Sherry said, that should be then coming out of the ACC budget. That's the ACC that is doing advertising. It would be no different than Centerton and Vernonville putting up a sign somewhere and saying that there's rentals at the spot. If it was a generic town banner, then fine. I think it comes out of, the town thing. Either way, it makes no difference. The money's still coming from the taxpayers, but I think it shows more that it's coming actually out of the ACC budget, that they're the ones that are requesting it, and I have no problem with it. It's fine.
Yeah, I actually agree with you, because then it's showing that it's part of that budget. It's giving us proper costing.
Okay, so then in do we do it now in 2021 or put that budget line in 2022's?
Yeah, I don't believe we had a budget line for it this year, so it would have been in the council advertising.
Yeah, so it could this year come out of advertising, and then for 2022, you'll put that on the budget line for the ACC.
Yeah, correct.
That's the direction of council that I'm getting. That's right, Greg?
Yeah, exactly like Sherry said, it makes sense, and then we know exactly where it's coming from.
Okay. And that's more what Carol would like as for the community centers. Okay, everybody's good with that? I'll call for the vote. Deputy Mayor Gibson.
Yay.
Councillor Phillip.
Yay.
Councillor Booth.
Yay.
Councillor Hogg.
Yay.
And myself, that's carried. Item 16.3, correspondence from Paige Wiggins, Executive Assistant to the Office of MPP David Piscini, dated April 15th, news re-emergency childcare. Be it resolved that the correspondence from Paige Wiggins, Executive Assistant, Office of MPP David Piscini, dated April 15th, 2021, news release, emergency childcare be received and filed. It's a bit of old news now, but could I have a motion, please?
Councillor Phillip.
Second? Jim, thanks. Do you anyone wish to speak on it, or I'll just call for the vote? Deputy Mayor Gibson.
Yay.
Councillor Phillip.
Yay.
Councillor Booth.
Yay.
Councillor Hogg.
Yay.
Myself, that's carried. I ran out of people. (16.4) two pieces of correspondence from Kate Manson-Smith, Deputy Minister, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, April 13th and April 17th. Be it resolved that the following correspondence be received and filed. Kate Manson-Smith, Deputy Minister, Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, dated April 13th, 2021. Re-declaration of provincial emergency under the Emergency Management and Civil Protection Act and amendments to the Reopening Ontario Act. From Kate Manson-Smith, Deputy Minister, Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, dated April 17th, 2021. Re-enhanced enforcement and new order under the Emergency Management and Civil Protection Act, EMCPA. So I need a motion to receive and file those correspondence. There was
Councillor Phillip will move.
Okay. Thank you. Second? Deputy Mayor Gibson? I'm looking all over the place. Any part of that anyone wishes to comment or question? It's part of the COVID. Calling for the vote. Deputy Mayor Gibson?
Yay.
Councillor Phillip?
Yay.
Councillor Booth?
Yay.
Councillor Hogg?
Yay.
And myself, that's carried. Now we're going into bylaws. Just a second here. Item 17, 17.1, being a bylaw to provide for the levy and payment of taxes and the adoption of tax rates for 2021. Be it resolved that bylaw number 56-2021, being a bylaw to provide for the levy and payment of taxes and the adoption of tax rates for 2021, be read and deemed to be passed the 6th day of May, 2021. Have a mover, please.
Councillor Phillip will move.
Mike. Second, Deputy Mayor
Second.
Gibson. Any comments or questions? Calling for the vote. Deputy Mayor Gibson,
Yay.
Councillor Phillip,
Yay.
Councillor Booth,
Yay.
Councillor Hogg,
Yay.
and myself, that's carried. We did really well coming in with a 0 budget increase. I think people appreciated that. And unfortunately, we'll be a little bit disappointed in 2022 again because MPACT isn't going to have all their assessments updated. Bylaw number 59-2021 being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 03-2019, being a bylaw to provide for the rules of order of the council and the committees, to provide for rules for members' conduct and outline standards of adequate notice, also known as the procedural bylaw. So be it resolved that bylaw number 59-2021, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 03-2019, being a bylaw to provide for the rules of order of the council and its committees, to provide for rules for members' conduct and to outline standards for adequate notice, also known as the procedural bylaw, be read and deemed to be passed the 6th day of May, 2021. Can I have a mover, please? So this now adds the recording.
Yeah, so moved, Deputy Mayor Gibson.
Thank you. Second,
Second. that,
Councillor Booth, calling for the vote or any comments? Deputy Mayor Gibson,
Yay.
Councillor Phillip,
Yay.
Councillor Booth,
Yay.
Councillor Hogg,
Yay.
and myself, carried. Okay, this is bylaw 17.3, being a bylaw to establish a recreation and cultural advisory committee and to appoint members to all the boards and committees for the Township of Alma-Calderman for the 2021 to 2022 term. Be it resolved that bylaw number 60-2021, being a bylaw to establish a recreation and cultural advisory committee and to appoint members to all the boards and committees for the Township of Alma-Calderman for the term 2021 to 2022, be read and deemed to be passed the 6th day of May. Could I have a mover, please? Can I have a mover to get it on the floor?
So
Councillor
moved.
Phillip.
So are we getting it on the floor first?
Sure.
So it was Deputy Mayor Gibson that moved?
I
And
am happy to move the passage of this bylaw, but
I think that needs some discussion, but that's okay. Mike, second?
Yep, I'll second.
Okay. Okay, so this isn't the one, sorry. The one question I have with this one, and it's going to come up in the next one, is I think there's a need to add community center committees. I'll leave it at that for now. I think they should be appointed by council, and we can deal with that in the next bylaw as well. But that's my concern with this one. We need community center committees. Any comments or questions? Mike?
Through the mayor, I don't think this particular one addresses that. I think this is strictly the Cultural Advisory Committee and appointments, right? So that's why you're saying it'll come up, correct?
Yes, but this one also has Recreation and Culture, Heritage Advisory, Alma Calderman Public Library Board, Police Services Board, and Grafton Communal Water. So they're listed on the back. In my opinion, community center committees need to be part of this. We need them.
Okay, I'm just wondering if this is the time to discuss that or not. That's what I'm asking you.
Well, it's basically the two bylaws. I think it can be addressed in the other bylaw.
Mm-hmm.
And then this one, if necessary or approved, could be adjusted. But I can't support this one without the community centers being there. Any other comments, Deputy Mayor Gibson?
So, Mayor Latchford, just to confirm, you're questioning Schedule B, committee composition, or you want to add into, or is that you're looking at, we need separate committees, or we need those committees reinstated for the community centers? I'm not clear on.
I think we need the reinstatement of community center committees. We've always had community center committees. There's two separate roles for Recreation and Culture Committee compared to community center committees. We could do the other one first, I think, if you prefer.
Well, I think this is a part of that bylaw, right? The schedule. So if this schedule needs to be revised at all, I would say that now is the time to, if council's in favor of that, add that into to Schedule B, that it includes community center committees, but.
Okay, that's right. I agree. Maybe I could speak to it first, so I'll make myself clearer. Okay. I think it's really important that we have community center committees. That's what the people want. They're volunteers who like to volunteer in their communities. They only have so much time. And I just find that all of this item 2, and you get part way down, I just have some issues with friends of the community centers. I don't believe the previous community members want to be friends. They want a little more responsibility. And I don't see where the Recreation and Cultural Committee will be working and doing functions and events at these community centers. That isn't their role. And my other concern is the previous council, Councillor Phillip and Deputy Mayor Gibson and myself were on the previous council that, and probably Jennifer, you didn't even know this. Where am I? Where we removed the responsibility of their own bank accounts and brought that into the township's accounts, into those general ledgers. And we had all those community centers having their own treasurers and another signer. They were in 4 or 5 different banks, and there were 10 signatures. So on the recommendation of Aaron McNichol, it was all that needs to be brought into the township general ledgers for transparency and accountability. And So that's what we did. And listening to Carol, like she's trying to get through to people too, and she's saying the very same thing. The expenses and the proceeds for whatever events are put on at the community centers both need to come into the township for transparency and accountability. So I don't feel now, like 3 of us did that we should go back on that and have friends of the communities have their own bank accounts when it's seen as public funds. So if there's a function, people are buying tickets, they're coming to the dinners, whatever they're doing, their impression is this is for that community center, not a separate bank account for whoever the friends are. And I'm not trusting those friends. It's just that it's not there. The expenses and the profit or losses are then not shown in the township. So that's a very important piece. And not only that, friends of the community center, really the former community center members don't want to be friends of the community center. So if you get another group, so, and you know, that you could get a group that are friends of the community center who are going to act, or you're going to get some of those former community center members back. But you could also get another group that decides they're going to be friends of whatever community center. So how do you separate them? If they're not appointed by council, they're not separated. They could come in, have functions that are good for the municipality, and but it doesn't show anywhere, and we have no way of monitoring what they're doing with what people would perceive as a public function. There's no public funds. Do you see what I mean? Remember the conversations from the last council and how we struggled over that for quite some time? Councillor Phillip.
Thank you for making your argument, I think, clear. One of the things that I wanted to add is the role of RNC, and I see the role of RNC as an overall role to run things that affect the entire township. So, for example, if we had a Donnybrook auction and it was the township's Donnybrook auction, then the RNC committee would take that on. If it was a polar dip that was for the entire township, it would be an RNC event, and so on and so on. So the RNC committee wouldn't drill down to a particular community center, but be an overarching committee that would handle the big pieces like Remembrance Day, our July 1st celebration, and maybe when we get through this COVID thing, maybe we're going to have a great big dance for the whole township, and that committee would run that, and it could very well be, it would be in one of our community centers, but it would be an overarching responsibility and therefore fall to the RNC committee. Does that make any sense, Mayor Latchford?
That's exactly how I see it. The RNC committee, if they're putting on a big function in the township, they're working directly with Jennifer as the coordinator. That was part of the program coordinator when we were discussing it. Canada Day, Canada Day Parade, the Santa Claus Parade, those were examples we were given. So in my mind, and I could be wrong, this is part of what the Recreation and Cultural Committee would do, something over for the whole township. And
Sorry. Can I just add one thing?
Sure.
Very important thing is the future plans for the township, whatever they are in RNC. So if I could even stand on this very thin ice suggestion that the RNC committee would be a big driver in what the result might be for a new community center down the road, 10 years down the road. That's another really good example of where that committee would have relevance, and it would be an overarching responsibility and a benefit to the entire township.
Exactly. And Sherry, did you want to say something?
I don't want to stymie that conversation. So if you want to continue on, I can wait until you're finished.
Okay. So if you look at page 179 and about the middle, and encourage and support volunteer organizations and community resource members within the township who provide or could provide recreation, leisure, special events, arts, and cultural opportunities, including but not limited to organizations such as the Men's Shed, Friends of the Committees, Grafton Green Thumbs. I don't know what they do for Grafton Green Thumbs, revitalization committees, local sports organizations. But when you look at those, I think they need to be separated, because the Men's Shed is not a committee of council. The Green Thumbs are not a committee of council. Right now, we don't have a revitalization committee anywhere. And the local sports events and those organizations, they have memberships. And so they do have some funds. I'm looking more at, are people going to think the taxpayers are now, when they're all listed together, they're not separated, they're automatically perceived as township committees that the ratepayers fund. And to me, the community centers, I know I'm repeating myself, they need to be appointed by council, because we don't want these committees coming in and saying, we're going to do this for the community, so do we get a reduced rent? Do we get free rent? And, you know, to have to bring that to council, I don't really think council wants to deal with all these committees coming in and asking for financial support. So I look at the Men's Shed. I think that's a great initiative. But right now, we haven't got any arrangement with them. You know, we are allowing them to do some things, and we can support them a little bit more. But I'm not picking on the Men's Shed here, because I think it's really good. And I'm not sure if there's a listener on who belongs to the Men's Shed. But the Men's Shed took the opportunity to do a big fundraiser for an organization. I can't remember what it was. They were quite successful in doing that. But here, there's no funds. So I would go so far as to ask the Men's Shed, if you want to work with the township, would they have a big fundraiser and possibly one or two small fundraisers where that could go towards whatever communities they use to cover their annual costs? I mean, there's a lot of good men cooks. They could have a dinner or a barbecue that would be very successful, and they'd have the help of the community. So that's just an idea when it's not a committee of council. Go ahead, Sherry.
So I'm going to jump into this conversation now. And I think Mayor Latchford, you have some really valid points, and I know they're born of concerns from the people that were involved in the community center committees and those users of the committee. But I also don't want to see the Recreation and Culture Advisory Committee nor the Heritage Committee held up. And you know what? Like I think we're big people to say maybe we went too fast, maybe we made a mistake. Let's go back a little bit to the drawing board, but to move this ahead and get the Recreation and Culture Advisory Committee working, would we be limiting moving forward by deleting from Schedule B the third bullet on number 2, objectives of the committee? So that's that encourage and support volunteer organizations and community resource members. Just take that right out for now and take out under definitions and clarifications, friends of the committee. So it still provides council an opportunity to form community center committees if so desired.
Yes,
Does that kind of meet everybody's concerns about how this is written?
Yes, and I was a little long-winded with you to make the points. I don't want to see the Recreation and Cultural Committee delayed from moving on. And I think those people will probably have some, ideas already and ready to get moving. But I think that other part needs a sit down, and council needs to say what we actually want with this and to have a better understanding for the community. And, it is going to be a little tough maybe to get some of those community center people back, or maybe we'll have new community center people. Perhaps some of the new Recreation and Cultural Committee would even like a member or two would like to volunteer on one in their community. But yeah, I can support what you said, Sherry.
So
But we've got to get the financial part of those community centers back to that community center committees.
So we can pass this bylaw 60/2021 with the revision that we delete the third bullet in number 2 of objectives of the committee, Schedule B, and we also delete friends of the committee under definitions and clarifications. And I don't see any changes needed to Schedule C.
I agree.
And that gives this committee an opportunity, both those committees an opportunity to get to work, get started on it. And, maybe they'll have some great input into the community center committees and composition and roles and responsibilities.
Yeah.
Well, I agree. And I think that this will hopefully bring back members for the community centers. They're an important part of each community.
Yeah.
Alex?
Can I add a point here? The terms of reference as they're written here were approved in January.
I know, but we've had lots of comments back and whatnot. And I just think that, things have come up since then, Alex. We said before, we're not giving community center committees free rein with the finances. They have to be shown in our books. So that's quite a difference.
Yeah, that's the point for me, that's the sticking point. The friends of means that the money's not transparent. The fundraising doesn't come in and is not regulated into our books. Not that they can't get it back, because of course they can. And we have many examples of where that money's come in and gone back out to projects like a new kitchen or whatever, or new bathroom. That's the sticking point with me, and that made me hiccup and think it over again. I don't like the money disappearing like that, and I've lived that situation once already in a previous job. And in schools, you know, there's always been a quote unquote slush fund, and that money is not accounted for. It's in a private bank account that the school has. And we stopped that practice in its tracks about 8 years ago because that money wasn't allotted or accounted for in the system. That money got abused and misused. And that's exactly what we're setting ourselves up for again. So we have to, and I was the one that used the term friends, and I am you know, I've been searching my soul with this for quite a while, and I think I made a mistake there, and the money piece is the one that really changed my mind.
Well, I don't think you made a mistake. I think we were trying to get it resolved. Maybe we didn't have enough of a conversation, and when you get away and you see it all in print, you know, we've got to be really careful because, well, and again, because there's some committees that are committee of councils and some that are not and don't want to be. Grafton Sports and Events Committee is not a committee of council, and nor do they want to be. You know, they've had their choices, these committees.
Yeah, Alex's point though is that, and I'm gonna put it back on Alex because I remembered something like this happening earlier. If we've passed something prior, then do we have to sit on it for a year before we can make a change, Alex? Is that your point?
No, we don't. We do in the Committee of Adjustment. And I remember stating that at one time and found out differently after. And that was my mistake. But council can change things as they go. Councillor Booth? Oh, sorry, Alex.
No, I just wanted some clarification. So if you're asking to remove bullet point 3, as well as the friends of, are you also stating that you want to reappoint the community center committees by bylaw?
Yes, and maybe we need to sit down. So that's part of it as well. We can reappoint them, advertise for new ones to get the committees in place. The trouble is COVID too. It's hard to do this in COVID. That was part of the criticism as well from our community center members, where you did this in COVID without really us having a chance.
Well, that's why Sherry's position is a good one, because if we go with Sherry, we can work out the details as we go forward.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm butting in.
No, Councillor Booth and then Deputy Mayor.
Okay, we're all over the place here. We keep coming back to this. I don't get it. I really don't get it. I think that now that we have the RNC committee made, let them discuss this instead of council arguing over minute points or something. I get your point, Mike, about the financial thing. Let me ask this question then. The Heritage Committee is a committee of council. Do we look after their money when they sell all the books? Who monitors all that and audits it?
It comes through the township.
Correctamungo. So why would they be any different than a Friends of Committee or whatever? I mean, we're talking about money and everything. They sell books and that, and we...
They're a committee of council. The friends of the committees are not committees of council. I know it, you know, you can take it either direction, but we've been into this before with previous councils and having to make these changes. And okay, go ahead.
I just think that we've got 7 or 8 very good people there. Let the RNC committee take this, discuss it, come back to council and make a presentation to us of what our concerns are and what they think, so that we get the input from them instead of council making all the rules. The original idea of all of this last year was, out of 4 community centers, we only had 1 that had a viable committee going. 3 of them were dying on the vine. And
Well, they've died before and they've come back, and we had 4 at
I
Fenella.
don't know
and
how
they
you're
said-
saying they've come back. Who's come back?
Well, they can't come back with COVID. I
Well, that's
mean,
what I'm saying, so to make a comment like that, Mayor, though, is sort of,
well, no, but over the years, that's what's happened with community centers. They're booming for a while and then they peter off.
I'm
And
not saying I disagree with your point. You're making some valid points. What I think is we're jumping back and forth all over the place.
we don't need to jump back and forth. It's not the responsibility of the Recreation and Cultural Committee,
To what?
in my
Review the advice
opinion,
council?
to set up the committees of they don't have the power to set the committees for the community centers. That's our job.
That's
And
right.
why wouldn't we, as council, and those are township assets, it's our responsibility to set them up correctly and to have that funding the way it should be. It's our job. It's not.
And that's why I thought we were on the right path when we said, we're going to go through with this. We passed it. Let the RNC committee do some work for us. We haven't even given them 1 foot in the door, and already we're changing all the game plans for them.
They haven't got the game plans yet.
I see nothing wrong with that 3rd bulletin. Encourage and support volunteer organizations, community resources, and it says they're going to report back to council.
Well,
So we can take their report and we can say, yes, we like your ideas, or no, we don't. I don't buy the cloudiness right now that it's being clouded with, well, people don't, we basically had 3 out of the 4 community centers that had no committees. We couldn't get the volunteers. We have 7, 8 people now that have volunteered. I see there's no reason why there can't still be, for the strong community centers like Vernonville or whatever, if they want to have a subgroup, let them come to the RC committee and say, we have a strong 7 or 8 people that want to still meet. Fine, you can meet. We'll allow you to meet in there. And
it's not up to them to allow a committee in those community centers. That's our job.
because it says that they will come to us, Mayor, and they will come to council with the requests, and we ultimately then would say yes. So for the comment to be made, well, you could get some group that's a friends of whatever. Obviously, if they go to the RC committee and they say, no, we don't like Joe Blow's friends of the committees for Fenella, and it would come to us and we say, we agree with you, no. I just think we're going back and forth, and we haven't given the RC committee, they've not even met once.
But read the definition of friends of the committee.
Yeah, I have no issues with that.
Their own bank accounts. We had to stop that. Why would we do it again? And you look at the members on this new RNC committee, many of them are new to the community. They don't have the history of the community centers. New blood, new ideas, good. But
which is exactly why I say new blood, new ideas. We have to get away of running things they were in the 50s and 60s.
Well, it'll have to go on the vote if I like working for the community centers. I have for a number of years, but they've got to be able to do, or you're not going to hold them. And then what?
Not stopping them, and nowhere in there does it stop any of the community centers from having, the Centerton or Friends of whatever. Nothing stops them from doing any of that.
Well, I don't agree.
Show me where it says there that they can't do that. That's the reason why we added in Friends of the Committee, that the strong committees could still have a group of 3 or 4 people and make their suggestions to the RNC committee.
Well, if they make the suggestions, who's doing the work?
Well, that is up to the RC committee and the people that are making the suggestions to you. So if Vernonville comes and wants to have a barbecue day,
They shouldn't have to ask a committee. They should be able to do that.
Well, and that's where we disagree then, because that's the issue that we had with a lot of the committees, that they didn't know where their place was when recommending things and that.
Oh, no, I disagree with that statement. I have to disagree with you on that one, Greg. Councillor Phillip?
I'm looking for some common ground here, and I would suggest, and I would ask Councillor Gibson for her suggestion as well. And how can we?
Deputy Mayor.
Deputy Mayor Gibson, I think strong points made on both sides of the floor here. I think we need time to revisit that piece. But as Councillor Gibson said, move ahead with the RNC committee, get it appointed. I talked about the big vision of RNC. I still believe that is a very important role, and I think we need to get that committee rolling. As far as the minutia of the rest of that discussion, not to belittle it in any way, but we definitely have to look at the pros and cons. My position for future discussion, I think it needs to be future discussion, will be around financial transparency. Yes. And I'm afraid that Friends of won't provide financial transparency the way it should. And so, I would want to revisit the question based on that. So I would like to put a motion on the floor, and Alex, you're going to have to help me with this.
I don't think we got one, don't we?
We've got one. Okay.
Well, wait a minute. You made the motion and Sherry second.
Okay. Well, I would like to, okay. Can you read me back the motion, please?
It hasn't changed. You would, if
okay.
It either will be as it's written or the changes.
Okay, well, I would say it needs to come under further review. The committee structure / Friends of piece needs to be further reviewed by council, and the front piece where we're looking at the development of the new RNC committee go forward. So please help me sort that piece out, Alex.
It's all part of one bylaw. So you're either passing the bylaw as is, or we're taking it off the agenda and deferring it.
So we could defer this and it would be brought back separated or whatever.
Well, the terms of reference reflect the committees, so you need them as part of one bylaw.
So are you saying then that I don't know, well,
what it sounds like,
I can't do that.
And I have no problem with Sherry's talking. I would go along with as far as to say, remove those things or whatever, but it doesn't sound like it can. But I would say, I agree with Sherry. Let's get going and get the RC committee. If we go back and turn this down now and we say to them, you got to wait another few months, we're going to be into the summertime. They're not going to meet in the summertime. I would say, pass this, let it go through. And the first job that you give the RNC committee is, listen, this is the issue we have with the Friends of, get back to us on what you think, because you're the volunteer people. And
but they're the volunteers. It's not their responsibility. The finances are council's responsibility.
That's fine. And
we've done that. We've already taken that responsibility back. That's my point. I'm fine with moving on with the RNC committee, but not these other parts. Bullet 3 and the definition of Friends of the Community Centers, and they get their own bank account. So what can we, Alex, Can you eliminate that from the bylaw, those 2 points?
No.
And we can go ahead with the R&C committee? Because they just need to get started.
So,
Deputy Mayor.
so just through you, Mayor, to Alex, and I guess because I don't know, I'm asking, can we make those revisions to Schedule B and still pass the bylaw today with those revisions? Or is it part and parcel? It has to be, it's as it's written on the agenda, or we defer it and come back with revisions?
I prefer to defer it and have it complete to be passed at the next meeting then.
Okay, so the Recreation and Culture Advisory Committee cannot meet until this bylaw is passed,
Correct.
which holds us up again. And I mean,
For only
Council-
2 weeks.
and Councillor Booth makes some good points too.
I agree.
We're back and forth, and I think we are trying to please so many people, and I mean that's our job. We want to look after the township, but I guess really my concern too is we've got what is that, 9 really good members to that committee who applied based on the terms of reference as they stand. And if we make any revisions to that terms of reference, are we going to lose some of those people? Like, I wonder if some of those people want to be part of the advisory committee because they want to represent their community centers on the advisory.
Well, we know we have 2 who, or well, at least 1, probably 2, who the reason they're on it is to be with their community center, but
Right.
and they've been good members of their community centers and done a lot for that particular community center.
And
But
they've pivoted. They've pivoted now and applied to be a part of this based on our, Jennifer's researched this. It's come to council on several occasions. And I know if we go ahead with it, we have an opportunity to allow the advisory committee to make changes and amend the bylaw.
But
right?
if we say to the committee, your committee has been passed, we passed all those members, like, we want to make some adjustments to this.
Could we not then say to the committee, this is the issue that council has at hand right now, and get back to us? I would be willing, if the committee came back, Mayor, and said, I agree, with exactly all your points and Mike's, which are valid, I would be fine if it came from the committee to say that. I just don't want to hold it up. You say 2 more weeks, by the time 2 more weeks comes, and if something else, then we're going to be almost into summer and we're done. These people are going to be like fed up. So if we pass it now and say your first task is let's work on this struggling issue and come back to council, and I'm willing to listen to them if they say, yes, we want the committees back or something, hey, fine, great.
And then at that time, we could pass an amending bylaw.
And then it won't hold up the committee now, and it gives them something to work on right away, right? It's like, okay, this is the issue that we want you people to put your heads together and solve for us, or at least come up with some solutions.
And it comes from the users and not the elected people.
And it's not going to do anything, Mayor, that's going to affect it's not like there's not going to be any friends or no committees or anything, because that's going to take a little while anyway. So let them work on it and come back to us.
Well, it'll have to be council's wish then, but I just can't support these 2 things in this. Sorry.
Did, who made the motion? I thought it was me.
Yes, it was.
Okay, so can we go back to that and because I'm willing to start this and with staff and council input through that advisory committee, make changes once the advisory committee is up and running and come back with an amendment. But let's hit the ground running. Let's keep going. So I'm going to say that I'm making a motion that bylaw 6021 for the term 21 to 22 be passed.
Who seconded it?
I did. I think.
I thought it
Yes,
was
you're
the other.
correct.
Okay. Yeah, Sherry and Mike.
I think that's we're looking for common ground here. I don't think there's any winners or losers based on that. I like Sherry's thinking and Greg's thinking that this is the first task of the RNC, and it gives them immediate credibility and responsibility. And then they make a recommendation to council so that council still controls the outcome anyway, but it'll be a good measure of the group. And as Greg or Sherry said, it's coming from the community, and after all, it's about community.
They might be coming up with something we don't realize that we're forgetting to talk about too, maybe. I don't know. Maybe they'll bring up something we never thought about. So
as long as we're not locked in here, I think that's I don't want to put words in the mayor's mouth, but I think as long as we're not locked in and that argument, is there, it's a very strong argument that the mayor's making, and I think it will stand the test of time with that committee, frankly.
So tell me this, if there's an event at a community center and it's a paid event, whatever, is that money to go, if it's not a recreation and cultural committee event, is that money to go to that community center, or is it to go in one pot?
Well, that would be to be decided. But in my mind, it would have to be a committee of the old structure so that that money can funnel back through the township and be,
transparent.
Accessed by that community center for, new shingles or whatever it was that they wanted to do with it. But I think, that if you make the argument that Friends of could disappear, those funds could disappear from the record, then I've got a problem with that. And
well, I'm not really saying they would disappear, because you have to trust the people, but they won't show.
Yeah, well, it's the same difference to me. I think everything has to go through the township. And if that means that you can't call it, that the committee has to be vetted by the township in the traditional way, and that they appoint a treasurer and that's approved and so on and so forth, then but I'm quite willing to put it to RNC. We can go and make the argument to the RNC committee, and then let them so they have a full understanding of where we sit with this and the struggles that we're having with it, and then see what they say, and then their information can come back to council for a final decision. But I agree with Sherry. Let's get it going. And I don't want to hold up the whole thing for that when we can make an amendment, as Alex has very aptly said. We can amend the bylaw at any time to better reflect the direction of council and the RNC, and I think that makes more sense.
Council doesn't need a recommendation from the RNC to amend the bylaw.
No, I know, I didn't say that. I
Okay,
didn't say that.
I just wanted to make that clear.
Yeah, no, I didn't say that. They can, they can have an opinion which will help us make a decision.
Okay, but I'm not convinced. But that's okay. Maybe I'm just being stubborn.
I think it still could end up coming out that way, Mayor. I mean, who knows when they come back and make the recommendation, and if they make the same recommendations, I would wholeheartedly agree, right? I'm just agree with Mike and Sherry. Let's keep going. Can be amended. I don't think we're going to have with COVID going on right now. There's not going to be any dances or money makers or anything that we really have to worry about now. So get them on that as the first thing that they are working on. They can report back to us hopefully in May or June, and then we can decide on it. And I'd be more than willing to listen to it and change my mind on it.
So the bylaw then you want to stand as it is? You're not?
That's Sherry and Mike are made the motion.
Yeah, I'm asking them.
Yes.
Yeah, for now.
Okay. We can call for the vote?
Yeah.
Deputy Mayor Gibson?
Yay.
Councillor Phillip?
Yay.
Councillor Booth?
Yay.
Councillor Hogg?
Yay.
And I'm opposed, so it's 4-1. Okay, moving on. Announcements and notice of motion from council members. Councillor Booth, you're first. You first.
I get to go first. So with all the discussion about open communication today and everything, maybe this is something I could ask through your worship to the CAO, or if staff would come back to us with a report or something on the very thing that Sherry mentioned, Councillor Gibson, about could we have something from you, Troy, about the evening meetings and what it would look like? Because obviously that has to be discussed with staff and maybe what other townships are doing. And also last fall, if you remember, I brought up about the idea of we should be looking at allowing taxpayers to have a couple of minutes of discussion or a question to ask for items that were on the agenda. And we said that we would bring it back in 2021 sometimes when things have quietened down, whether or not we could have some kind of report or what other communities are doing so that we can look at that maybe being possible in the future.
Yes, we have discussed those options with staff already, but we can do a report and with a comparison of neighboring townships, what they do or whatever. But definitely there are options that have been discussed already, but we'll put it in a report format.
And then that way the councillors and the mayor and the deputy mayor, we can all have a avid discussion about it and see what other people are doing.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, and the only other thing I did is I just wanted to say a big thank you to the Public Works Manager, Brian. He's a fantastic guy. That on the weekend, ratepayer reported to me that the sign that Stewart and Speechley, I don't know if somebody hit it or the wind knocked it down or whatever, but I put in a work order to him, and on Monday morning, first thing, the guys were there and repaired it. So that guy's on the ball. He's really good. I think probably better than the last guy we had. So thank you, Brian.
Don't forget the last guy hired him.
That's it for me.
Okay, and we should look further with Councillor Booth, whether or not it should be a committee of the whole.
Yes, yes, that's a good idea too. That was a good idea. Sorry, I forgot about that. That's something we should look into too.
Okay. Councillor Hogg, do you have anything?
I have nothing at this time.
I don't have anything at this time either. Deputy Mayor Gibson?
Thank you. I do have something. And you know what, we've all struggled, I think, through COVID and not being able to meet. And, you know, who's held us together but the clerks. So this coming week, this week that we're in, May 2nd to 8th, is 52nd Annual Professional Municipal Clerks Week, celebrating Annual Professional Week, initiated in 1969 by the International Institute of Municipal Clerks, endorsed by all its members throughout the United States, Canada, and 15 other countries. The week is a time of celebration and reflection on the importance of the clerk's office. So to you guys, hats off. You do an amazing job. And I know it's only 1 week out of the year, but just want you to know we appreciate you 52 weeks of the year.
Anything else?
That's all. I can't outdo that.
No, you can't. Nobody can. Look at the smiles. Councillor Phillip?
Well, I could say a lot of things, but I really have nothing of substance to say. In addition, other than that, I am celebrating my 69th birthday today.
Well,
Happy birthday.
I was
Yeah.
going to say happy birthday to you at the end. Now you spoiled it.
I think it's 69 or 68. I'm not sure, but it's an even number, so maybe it's 68. I don't know. But I just wanted to make sure that that our CAO knew that it was my birthday today, because I am sure that he passes by my house on the way home, and I'm sure that he would want to celebrate that special event in some way. So I'll expect a honk on the way by, Mr. Gilmore.
That's good.
Well, happy birthday.
Yeah.
So the
All
next,
right. That's
okay.
it for me.
The next portion is the closed session meeting following the adjournment of the regular council session of Thursday, May 6, 2021. The Council of the Township of Alnwick-Haldeman will be holding a closed session in accordance with Section 239, 2C and E of the Municipal Act 2001, as amended, to discuss a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, and to discuss litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, with the CAO, deputy CAO. I lost the rest of it. Who else is staying? Clerks? Staying. I've lost my sheet. Got the back page.
So it is CAO, Deputy CAO, Manager of Finance, HR, Clerk, and Deputy Clerk remaining in attendance.
Okay. And we'll do the confirming bylaw.
Yeah.
So I'll have a mover for the confirming bylaw for today's meeting.
Councilor Phil.
Second. Deputy Mayor Gibson. All in favor? I could just see your hands, put them up. Yeah, all in favor, carried, myself included. And motion to adjourn at 3:23.
So moved, Deputy Mayor Gibson.
And second, Greg. Councillor Booth, thanks. So all in favor? Carried.
Okay.
Okay. What time are we coming back in here, Alex?
Yolanda, do we have Lisa and Mike waiting for us?
Nobody is waiting as of yet. I do have to send the invite out. I would suggest 3:30 if that is okay with everyone.
That's good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.